Hello. Do you wish you could feel like a complete woman? Is there a part of you, a growing sense that you really want to know and love your sexuality? Today I want to weave a little story that kind of bubbled up in me after watching an episode of the latest series of The Crown, in which Olivia Colman beautifully plays the Queen. And there's this scene in which she's reflecting back on her early years as a mum and how much of motherhood she missed out on. And there was this particular memory she had that she wanted to bath her baby. She wanted to take part in this kind of rite of motherhood that most of us take for granted. And yet, in her own words, or in the words in the drama, I didn't know what I was doing, so I just sat out of the way and watched. And then there, as she said this, there's this huge sense of, you could just feel the pain, the loss, the sense that she hadn't ever evolved or gone through this initiation into motherhood, womanhood, completeness, because she, in her ignorance and her shame of her ignorance, she had just sat out of the way. She didn't want to bother people. She wanted to sit out of the way and watch. And it made me think, or it just triggered in me this sense of, how many women are there right now who don't truly understand their sexuality, who don't truly understand their bodies or their sexual pleasure, and when it comes to sex, they kind of just sit out of the way and watch. Now, I'm not suggesting that that there are literally women sitting in the corner of bedrooms watching their men engage in sex with other people or themselves. I mean, that might be happening, and it might come from the same place. But a bit like the Queen, I think when we don't know about something, when we don't have an understanding, very often we have this strong sense of inhibition, this sense of shame and awkwardness and embarrassment about not knowing something we feel we ought to know about. So rather than asking somebody, we just stay in ignorance. Now, to me, watching this episode of the Queen and seeing her pain and her sadness, I was like, why don't you just ask one of the experts? You're paying for these experts who are looking after your children. They really know what to do. They could show you. You could have spent 5 minutes learning how to bath your baby, and then you'd have had a lifetime of bathing babies, and it would have been beautiful. But she didn't. She sat out of the way and watched. And I get the sense that that's what so many women do. When we don't know about our own sexuality, rather than asking questions of experts, we sit out of the way and watch, and we delegate the act of sex, the sexual knowledge, sexual inquiry, sexual understanding. We grant it to men. We give men this expert status. I think so many people have done this in relationships, and I've certainly worked with men who feel they're expected to be the experts, and they feel as ignorant and awkward and embarrassed as the women. So we've gotten ourselves into a massive pickle. But there's a particular problem about granting men expert status to our bodies, in that our bodies aren't male bodies. But because we've become so disempowered, and because we've let go of our own expertise about ourselves, and we've granted this expertise onto men, or handed it to men, or expected men to know it, it's unsurprising that men assume that we're like them. It's unsurprising that they assume that the way we engage in sex, the way that we feel sexual pleasure, is a similar way to they do. Leaving men in charge of sexuality has left women in a place where we are not experiencing enough sexual pleasure, because sex is done to please men, because they assume that pleases us too. How would they think any different? There are many men who have become experts on one woman's body. The problem is they think they can transfer that knowledge to different bodies, but every single woman is created so differently. Our pelvic nerve system is so unique to each of us. It's complex and it's varied and it's different in every single woman. So what the man becomes an expert in with one woman, with one partner, when he tries to transfer that to another partner, he's shocked that it doesn't work, and then all sorts of other problems develop. So I can see how hard men are trying. I understand it, I observe it, I witness it, and it's time for us to kind of become experts of our own bodies and our own sexuality. So kind of like the Queen, like, why didn't she ask her nannies? Why didn't she say, show me how to bath my babies, I'd love to know? I guess you're thinking that's an easy question to ask. Most of us don't have an opportunity to delegate the task of caring for our children and bathing our babies to somebody else. We just have to get on and do it. It's literally a matter of life and death. If we don't care for our babies, no one will. The Queen was very lucky. She had the support staff around her. So I guess to many people watching this, they're thinking, well, it's easy to ask someone to show me how to bath a baby, but really difficult to ask someone to show me about my own sexuality. But I'm going to suggest the inhibition is the same. It comes from a place of awkwardness and embarrassment that we don't know something. There's this sense that we're meant to know how to bath our own babies, and anyone who's had a baby for the first time knows the shock and the fear and the sheer terror of being left with this incredibly precious living object and having absolutely no idea what to do. Oh my goodness, really? You're going to leave me now at this moment? I don't know what to do with it. We've all felt that. It wasn't just the Queen. But we have to solve the problem of how to care for our babies. What I'm saying is we don't solve the problem about how to care for ourselves. We don't solve the problem about how to engage with ourselves sexually, understand our pleasure and know our pleasure. So just like the Queen, now with our baby we were forced to, we had to. With our sexuality we kind of think, oh, it's not that important. But let me tell you, just as caring for our babies is a matter of life and death, caring for our own sexuality is a matter of life and death. When you do not have sexual energy, when you do not have life force energy moving through your body, you are not fully alive. You're not radiant, you're not glowing, you're not as confident, you're not as creative, you're actually not even as intelligent. Our sexual energy nourishes everything. It expands our mind. Our cerebral cortex grows when we are sexually alive and turned on. You have to feel sexually alive to live a full life. And what I see around me is far too many women who don't understand this, who just put up with what I would call a zombified life, a grey existence, a life in which we just soldier on. It becomes a life of drudgery. Drudgery. I can't get beyond that word. It's drudgery without the sparkle and bounce and the zest and the joy of energy moving through our bodies and nourishing us and giving us that vitality and spark. It's not that easy to get through the days. We're cut off from such a vital source within us. So like the Queen, in which she felt awkward, embarrassed, ashamed, inhibited to ask this very basic question, how do I bathe my babies? We also find it really challenging to seek our sexual understanding and pleasure. And I sometimes think it's a bit like a female version of the Crusades. We're like the Knights Templar searching for the Holy Grail. And the search for the Holy Grail, it takes us into dark, dangerous, difficult lands. We've been conditioned to fear these lands that we have to journey to. They're dark, they're unknown to us, they're unfamiliar. We've been told for centuries that the knowledge we seek there is dangerous and is going to bring us nothing but trouble. Our bodies, our minds are so deeply conditioned to fear the very knowledge that we seek. I understand it's not easy. We've been told that if we grab hold of this knowledge, of this huge amount of power and energy, we're going to turn into something, shameful, dangerous, harmful sluts that are going to bring down hell and damnation on the heads of everyone we love. We've been told over and over and over again for centuries that everything we seek, all of this energy, this zest, this joy, this spirit, this love, we've got to shove it into a box. We'd sit on it, not allow it open, not use the key. Like Pandora, we're meant to shove it into a box and not access it. All of these stories, all of this conditioning is designed to keep you away from your body, to keep you away from your pleasure, to deny you the power and the joy and the spirit and the spark of your own sexuality. Now, all of it's designed to keep you small. It was designed quite consciously to keep women small, to disempower us, to remove us from basically our greatest power, which is this creative energy within our bodies. And I want to just say there is nothing for women or men to fear from knowledge. It's lies, it's myths, it's all there to separate you and keep you small. You have so much to gain. If Olivia Colman's depiction of the Queen, if she'd turned to her nannies, if she'd turned to the experts and said, show me how to bath my babies, it would have maybe taken her 5 minutes to learn. It really wouldn't have taken very long. And then with the guidance and the care and the love of the experts she was paying to help her, she'd have had this joyous experience, one of those experiences that all of us mothers, baby years are challenging, and it's the bath time, it's wrapping them up in towels, it's smelling their clean hair, it's rubbing an oil into their soft skin. This is one of the joys of life, and it's just such a bonding, vital, integral experience to what it is to being a woman. But her inhibition stopped her. She denied herself this experience. Learning about our sexual pleasure, our orgasm, is another huge rite of passage for women. It's an initiation into a greater, bigger, more expansive, more expressed, more confident version of ourselves. And too many women close themselves off from this growth because of, like the Queen, they feel inhibited to ask. They're too embarrassed, they feel too awkward. It doesn't have to be like this. You can feel safe and supported, understood, heard, and even loved as you go on this crusade, as you seek your own holy grail. You don't have to feel stupid or ashamed or embarrassed any longer. If you're ready to go on this journey, if you want to feel this amazing, vibrant energy in your life, if you want to seize back your power, please think about booking a complimentary call with me. It's completely confidential. It's an opportunity for you and I to get acquainted with each other and for you to learn about what your next steps could be on your journey. It's been lovely to talk to you, and as ever, if you want to hear more from me on a regular basis, there's a link to my newsletter in the comments section below. Take care, lots of love, bye.